While adjusting her armor, the alien Empress leaned in with a sly smile and murmured, "Gentle now, that piece reacts to the slightest touch." The desert winds of Carvos screamed across the repair yard, carrying the taste of iron and ass. Broken machines lay like the bones of titans, silent testaments to the wars that had scarred this world. Amid the wreckage stood Elias Wren, a mechanic from Earth, one of the few humans still stubborn enough to work this far from civilized space. His hands were scarred, his coveralls patched more times than he could count, but his eyes burned with focus as he tightened a plasma coupler into place. Elias wasn't supposed to be here, not really. He had fled Earth's expansion fleets years ago, tired of endless conscription and battles fought for politicians who never saw the front lines. Carvos was exile and salvation all in one, harsh enough that few visited, forgotten enough that the wars rarely reached it. He fixed machines, patched up scavenger ships, and earned just enough to keep breathing. That was all he asked for, until she arrived. The Empress. Not just a ruler of a single world, but sovereign of the Seraph Dominion, a span of 200 systems whose banners stretched like a river of fire through the stars. Her name, whispered with reverence and fear alike, was Serenia Calith, the flame-tongued Empress. To Elias, she had been only a distant legend, a figure too lofty for his forgotten corner of the galaxy. Yet here she stood in his repair yard, clad in obsidian-black battle armor laced with veins of molten gold. Dust clung to her cloak. Her face, sharp, fierce, and crowned by a diadem of crystalline light, was unreadable. But her violet eyes, burning like nebulae, tracked his every move. He hadn't even been given a choice. One moment he was repairing a skiff, the next the Imperial Guard had descended in a storm of banners and blades, dragging him before her. She needed a mechanic, they'd said. Not an engineer from her dominion. Not a loyal artificer. Him. And so Elias found himself adjusting the plasma seal on the Empress's chest plate. The armor hummed beneath his fingers, alive in ways human tech rarely was. Seraph Dominion craftsmanship blended metal and bioorganic lattices, armor that bonded to its wearer like a second skin. Each adjustment mattered. A misaligned seal could sear through flesh. He swallowed hard, trying to focus. This coupler's misaligned. I need to. Then her voice cut through his thoughts, smooth as silk, but edged with command. Careful, she whispered, leaning just close enough that he felt the warmth of her breath. A sly smile curved her lips. That piece reacts to the slightest touch. Elias froze. The implications sank in, not just technical, but personal. His hands hovered awkwardly, unsure whether to continue. Her eyes locked onto his, daring him to flinch. And he didn't. He forced himself to keep working, even as heat rose to his face. The coupler clicked into place, and the armor's hum steadied. He exhaled, not realizing he'd been holding his breath. When he dared glance up, she was still smiling. The beginning, the choice of the Empress. The following days blurred into a rhythm Elias didn't recognize. He had expected her to leave once the armor was mended. Instead, she remained, returning again and again, not only for repairs but for his company. Sometimes she spoke of war, how the Dominion faced uprisings on its fringes, how ancient enemies stirred from the void. Other times, silence lingered between them, broken only by the click of tools. But always, she watched him. At first, he dismissed it. He was just a mechanic. She was an Empress. Whatever game she played, he wanted no part in it. Yet he could not ignore how she listened when he spoke, really listened. She asked of Earth, of its oceans and forests, of its stubborn people. And when he told her of his exile, she did not mock or scorn him. She only nodded, as if she understood. One night, as the twin moons of Carvos bled silver across the sands, she said softly, "Do you know why I chose you, Elias Wren?" He shook his head. "Because you do not kneel." The words unsettled him more than any threat could have. The middle, war on the horizon. The fragile calm shattered when the skies above Carvos split with fire. Rebel fleets descended, screaming vengeance against the Dominion. The Empress's guard fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered. Elias found himself dragged from the repair yard into the heart of battle. Plasma fire lit the night. Towers crumbled. The sands burned. And Serenia, she did not hide. She donned her repaired armor, her voice ringing like thunder as she rallied her soldiers. Elias saw her wade into the fray, each strike of her blade sending arcs of golden fire through the air. The rebels feared her, but they fought with desperation. When her armor sputtered, its systems straining, Elias knew what he had to do. He dove into the battlefield, scrambling to her side. Tools in hand, he patched the conduits even as plasma bolts scorched the sand around him. "Are you mad?" she hissed, blocking a strike meant for his throat. "Probably," he grunted, sealing a ruptured power line. "But without this, your armor's just dead weight." The conduit snapped into place. Her armor blazed with renewed life. Together, they drove back the attackers. But victory came at a cost. Carvos lay in ruins. The Empress had been wounded, not her body, but her dominion's pride. The rebels would not stop here. War was coming, and Elias knew he could walk away. He could disappear into another backwater, abandon the Empress to her war. It wasn't his fight. It never was. Yet when she turned to him, her violet eyes softer than he'd ever seen, and whispered, "Stay." Something inside him shifted. For the first time in years, Elias felt he belonged. The end, a mechanic's oath. Months passed. Elias became more than a mechanic. He was confidant, advisor, and though neither spoke it aloud, something more. The Empress would steal moments with him in the quiet of the repair bays, her voice no longer only command but sometimes laughter, sometimes silence, filled with unspoken weight. The war spread across the stars. Rebel fleets clashed with Dominion armadas. Worlds burned. Through it all, Elias remained at her side. Then came the final battle. The rebels had united under a warlord, a monster of steel and fury who sought to tear the Dominion apart. The Empress led her fleet into the heart of the storm, and Elias was there in the command chamber, tools strapped to his belt. The fight raged for hours. Hulls shattered. Stars dimmed beneath the weight of fire. The warlord's flagship bore down upon them, unstoppable. In that moment, Serenia turned to Elias. Her armor sparked, her blade heavy. She reached out, fingertips brushing the scar on his hand. "You could still run," she whispered. "This isn't your war." Elias met her gaze, steady. "It is now." He dove into the conduits, rerouting power, coaxing miracles from systems long past their limits. The Empress fought with fire and fury, her armor blazing with the life he fed into it. Together, they struck the final blow. The warlord fell. The rebels broke. Silence returned to the stars. When it was done, when the wreckage drifted and the wounded cried for home, Serenia stood before him. Not as Empress, not as flame-tongued ruler, but as a woman weary from war. She leaned close, her armor still humming beneath his touch, and with a sly, familiar smile, whispered, "Gentle now, that peace reacts to the slightest."